And for the end of this class, I would like to talk to you about the subject of what you can do to protect your image quality. So certainly a Colourlab is going to take you into a ballpark where you want your look to go, but there is always going to be more work that you're going to have to do in final grading in order to achieve the look that you desire. But in order to protect the image quality, there are a few tips I would like to share with you to how you can further enhance your look without damaging it. So one of the most important things you should pay attention to are your exposure levels. Basically, if I was now to look at this particular project, and if I was to select my 70s timeline, what I mean by the exposure levels is that you should use your node 1 in such a way that you never really go into a situation where you will be crashing too much your image, or you don't have enough information, where you're going and losing too much of the data. So I would always recommend to use your node 1 as the node that is always going to help you with exposure levels. Always control and treat your exposure levels so that there is enough signal coming through the show LUT, because that will directly affect your image quality. The second tip that I have for you is that you should always try to use curves instead of the qualifiers. What I mean by that is that there are certainly situations, like in this particular shot, where you need to select only one part of your shot that you need to treat, that you need to change. So for example, if you want to increase the saturation of this lamp, so you would have to open another serial node after the show LUT, and then what you can do is you can use, for example, your qualifier to select the green lamp. Okay, but what you'll find is that you might have difficulties to select exactly the lamp, and that you might never get the key very clean. Instead, what I would always try to do is try to use curves. So for example, my favorite curve is hue versus saturation. So if I go for this particular curve here, I can go and increase the green of the lamp in much more effective way by causing less artifacting than if I was to do it by applying a qualifier. If you want to work further on your contrast, a great tool for the contrast is custom curves. But here is a great tip how to use custom curves correctly. What you need to do is you need to click on these three dots here and select editable splines. Now what you can do is you can click on one of the dots, and then you can drive basically the handle down, and maybe here this handle up, and this will give you a great S shape. And this S shape is going to create curves that are very smooth and that will never clip or crash your image, because the maximum is always going to stay preserved, yet they are going to create this effect of increased contrast. So again, try to use the handles when you're working with custom curves. Another curve that I like a lot is a curve called luminance versus saturation. Luminance versus saturation is a very handy curve if you would like to sometimes clean up your shadows. So in this situation, I'm going to go into my luminance versus saturation curve, and I can just click on this black tab here, which is going to select my shadows, and I can pull this handle down, and this is going to help me just desaturate and clean my shadows. It's a great for very quick fixes like that. You should try to use your RGB controls to clean up shadows truly, but if you really need to just fix them, this is a great tool to do exactly that. When we are using qualifier, a great tip when working with Davinci Resolve is to use qualifier in a way that you are controlling color only. So what I mean by that is following. So I'm going to go into my qualifiers, and then I'm going to go and select her skin. Okay, so let's see what we have picked up. So I can see that my skin is very close to the other side of my shot, so I'm going to have to isolate the skin. So for that I'm going to use custom curves, and I'm just going to go and create what we call a little garbage mat around her, so that if you ever do garbage mats as well, always make sure it's a soft garbage mat, and if there is a movement in a shot, use your tracker to make sure the garbage mat stays always with the subject. And then I'm gonna go apply a little bit soft here, and in Qualify I'm gonna use a little bit clean white to clean up a little bit my qualifier of the skin. Now, what I mean by using it for color only. These qualifiers are great for is if you want to affect just the tone of the skin. So you see, for example, I can cool down the skin or I can warm up the skin. But what you should never do, you should never go and do this. You should never lift the level of your skin or kind of darken your skin. This is not the best tool for that, and very quickly you're going to get results that are noisy, that are breaking image and look very unnatural. So just try to stay within, like, tweaks for the color. Another thing that you can do is you can also use your saturation tool a little bit as well, and so help tweak the skin or any other object that you're adjusting using qualifiers. And for the end, always leave your windows as last. So basically, wait until you have finished all of your curves, your qualifiers, and only then use your nodes to create windows. The reason for that is that windows will affect your image a lot, and it could be that if you were to put windows in front of the qualifier, that your qualifier would stop working. So every time you adjust your window, you would have to go and readjust your qualifier again, and this is very counterproductive. This is why we always leave windows for last, because that way we are able to kind of leave them as almost a last pass, where quickly we can go and adjust exposures or create a little bit of a depth effect using windows. So with this tip, I would like to thank you for taking this class for Colourlab 201. I hope that you have found it useful, and that also you're going to be able to make most out of this little plugin that is hopefully going to help you to be more creative with your looks and be able to improve your color grading and take it to the next level. Follow us for more tips and any updates that we're going to be bringing in the future. Thank you very much.